Hey, 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 everybody. How are you? I hope you all had great weekends and that you took care of your moms yesterday, gave them a great day on Mother's Day. So, welcome to the next lesson in statistics. Today, we're going to up the ante and work with two-way frequency tables. What does two-way mean? It means two pieces of information. So, last week, look at the notes here. It just says we worked with numerical data like age or height. So, today, we're going to analyze categorical data, which is non-numerical, things like pet preference, gender, and then we're going to combine pet preference and gender together, and that's where the two-way comes from. It means two variables at the same time. Let's start with one variable, though. Okay, so let's say that Jenna took a survey in her school. She surveyed 40 people and asked whether they preferred dogs, cats, or pets. And here's the answers right here. 18 of the kids she surveyed preferred dogs, 12 preferred cats, 10 preferred another animal besides that, and altogether those three numbers add up to 40. Okay, so it says we're going to create something called a relative frequency table. All right, so just as a general rule, everybody, frequency means you're dealing with numbers themselves. As soon as you throw in the word relative into anything, relative frequency means either fractions or decimals or percents, with a stress on percents. Relative preceding anything means you're dealing with percentages or decimals. So take a look. It says, what's the relative frequency of people who prefer dogs? Well, 18 people prefer dogs, but 18 out of 40 total people. So you take 18 over 40, and you get your 0.45 right there, which if you move the decimal two places to the right equals 45%. How many prefer cats? Well, 12, but it's 12 people out of 40. There's the relative frequency. And as a decimal, that's 0.30. As a percentage, that's 30%. How about other animals? Well, that's 10 out of 40, which is 25%. I'm sorry, 0.25. 0.25 as a percentage is 25%. If I add up these decimals, the 0.45, the 0.30, and the 0.25, they add up to 1. How do you write 1 as a percentage? 100%, Mr. Cody. You guys are absolutely right. Good job, 100%. That's it. Congratulations. You've just made a relative frequency table. So it says, how can you check that your answers have been converted correctly? Well, the sum of the relative frequencies should be 1 if it's decimal, or 100% if it's percentages. Gabish? That's what's going on right there with that. Okay? And it says, explain why the number in the total column is always 1 or 100%. Well, because 1 equals 100%. That's basically why. And, I know that's a very short answer right there, but that's it. Decimals, 1. Percentages, 100%. That's it. Take away from page 1, relative means write the answers as a fraction, as a decimal, or as a percentage. Mr. Collodi, which one should we do, fraction, decimal, or percent? We'll see. If it doesn't imply what to do, if it says percentage, make sure you write it as a percentage. If it says fraction, write it as a fraction, so on and so forth. If it says decimal, write it as a decimal. So it says here in the previous example, the categorical variable was pet preference. So what if you have two categorical variables, such as pet preference and gender? Ooh, we're throwing in, if you do that, then you have something called a two-way frequency table. All right, so it says for her survey, Jenna also recorded the gender of each student, and here's the information right here. And parts A, B, and C, in a nutshell, say find these totals. So if I take 8 plus 7 plus 1, that's 15 plus 1, that's 16 total girls that she surveyed. Then 10 plus 5 is 20, 20 plus 9 is 29. And I get that going on right there. Holy moly, did I just say 10 plus 5 is 20? Oh man, it must be late for me too. All right, except it's early. All right, so 10 plus 5 is 15 plus 9 is 24. Oopsies. Okay, so let's do the dog column. 8 plus 10 is 18 total dogs. 7 plus 5 is 12 total cats. 9 plus 1 is 10 total other pets. Here's the cool thing. If I add up the rows, I'll get a sum total. If I add up the column, I'm sorry, if I add up these row numbers, I'll get a sum total. If I add up these column totals, I'll also get a sum number, and that sum is 40. Where have we seen 40? Well, didn't the first question say we surveyed 40 total people? Pretty cool, yo. All right. So basically A, B, and C is what we just did right there. All right. Where have you seen these numbers? Where have you seen the numbers in the total rows before? 18, 12, 10. Wait a second. 18, 12, 10. Yeah. There's 18 total dogs. There's 12 total cats. And there's 10 total other. We just broke it down into both girls and boys. I like it. Oh, it's been a while since you heard that. Nice. All right, all right, all right. So in terms of Jenna survey, what does the grand total represent? And by the way, the grand total is this number right here. It's the 40 total people. That's it. All right. So without answering that, now it gives two definitions: a joint relative frequency. And by the way, I see the word relative. So relative means we're working with fractions or percentages, and a marginal relative frequency. Joint relative frequencies, I'm just going to scroll up. If I take, and I'm going to use a different color pen here. If I take any one of these numbers and divide by 40, that's called a joint relative frequency. Why? Because this 8 is the joint relationship between dog and girl. They are the girls who like dogs. This 5 is the joint relationship between the boys who like cats. So if I take 8 over 40, that's a joint relative frequency. 5 over 40 is a joint relative frequency. What's a marginal relative frequency? Well, let me use a different color pen now. What if I use green? These numbers right here and these numbers right here are out on the margins. Like, margins are on the outside. So if I just say how many girls got surveyed, or what's the percentage of girls that got surveyed, the relative frequency. There's 16 total girls that got surveyed out of 40. That's a marginal relative frequency. How many boys were surveyed? That's 24 out of 40. That's a marginal relative frequency. Joint means any number here on the inside. Marginal means any numbers here on the outside. And everything gets divided by 40 here. Okay, so that's exactly what you see right here. I'm just taking all of the numbers that we used from the previous example and working them out. So this is 8 out of 40, and I'm going to do this very quickly here. I'll use red for the inside. 7 out of 40 and 1 out of 40. And then the next row is going to be, I just have the numbers right here, 10 out of 40, 5 out of 40, and 9 out of 40. So those are all my joint relative frequencies. I'm going to use blue for the marginal relative frequencies. 7 plus 5 is 12 out of 40. 9 plus 1 is 10 out of 40. 8 plus 7 plus 1 is 16 out of 40. To turn anything into a relative anything, you simply divide by the grand total. And that's 24 out of 40. That's an ugly 24 right there. So let me write it again. 24 out of 40. Okay, and suppose you want to turn them into percentages. This is 0.40. This is 0.60. That adds up to 1. This is 0.45. This is 0.30, which we already did. And this is 0.25. To turn the interior numbers into relative frequencies, 7 out of 40 is 0.175 or 17.5%. 0.025. 0.25, 0.125, and last but not least, 0.225. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the number and dividing it by 40. Part B is just showing the work for all that right there. That's it, just showing the work. So the red represents the joint relative frequencies. The blue represents the marginal relative frequencies. Relative because they are fractions or percents. Okay, so I'm going to scroll right down to the bottom here. These questions. What is the joint relative frequency of the students who are boys and prefer cats as pets? So basically, how many boys like cats? There's 40 total kids. Let's go back up here. How many boys prefer cats? Just go right here. It's the 5 out of the 40, or 12.5%. So I'll just write that 5 out of 40, or 0.125, or 12.5%. That's it. A marginal relative frequency. So it says, what's the marginal relative frequency of the students surveyed who are just girls in general? So basically, how many girls got surveyed? Let's go up here. How many girls got surveyed? It's just the girls. That's it. Go to the total, because it's all the girls who got surveyed. It doesn't matter if they like cats, dogs, or other. That's 16 out of 40. So I'm going to write 16 out of 40, 4.4, or 40%. That's it. Okay, now let's get to the last section of this, or second to last section. Are there times when you're not always going to divide by the grand total? Yes. If I ask you something called a conditional relative frequency, and I might come on screen for this. So it says, find, and I'm going to put a star by this here, or circle it. Find the conditional relative frequency that a student surveyed prefers that a student surveyed prefers cats as pets, given that, and I'm going to underline these words, given that the student is a girl. Wait a second, let's read that again. What's the probability you're going to pick somebody? And notice how I say probability. I didn't say conditional relative frequency. They mean the same thing. Conditional relative frequency and probability are the same thing. Okay, so I'm coming on screen for this one. Basically, for this question, I'm saying, hey, I need all the boys over nye. I need all the girls over nye. So now I'm not picking out of all 40 people. I'm only choosing out of the ones that I know, look back at your screen, that I know are girls. All right, you're not seeing this ugly mug anymore. So I'm gonna write that down. I'll even write the word P for probability. They prefer cats, given that they are a girl. Given that a girl. Ugh. So I'm going to abbreviate this here. C for cat. Then the given that right here can be written using a slash. This slash represents the words given that. If you see a slash in the world of probability or statistics, that means given that. Given that, they are a girl. So I know they're a girl, so I'm only choosing from the girls. How many girls are there? Basically, I'm asking how many people are in this row right here. Well, there's 16. There are 16 girls in the row. So immediately, time out, I'm going to go back down. So immediately, I'm not dividing by 40, I'm dividing by 16. Of the 16 girls, because I know I'm choosing a girl, of the 16 girls, how many prefer cats? Just 7 of them. Those are the 7 people in the girls' row who prefer cats. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to write 7. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. You've just calculated a conditional relative frequency. That's exactly how that works out, or 0.4375. But you know what? The decimal is fine. It's great, but that's not my main drive. My main drive is you understanding where that's coming from right there. Okay? So it says, find the conditional relative frequency that a student surveyed is a girl, given that they prefer cats. Wait a second. That sounds just like part A. But wait, I flipped the script here. I said the probability that the student surveyed is a girl, given that they prefer cats. Look at what is after the slash now. It's what do we know? I need all the cat lovers over nye. I need all the non-cat lovers over nye. So now I'm not necessarily looking at the girls row. I'm looking at the cat column. So let me use a different color altogether. I'll use orange. How many people are in the cat column? It's right here. How many total cat people are there? 12. That is my denominator. Whatever the condition, whatever comes after the slash, and I'm just going to say this straight up, whatever comes after the slash is your denominator. Girls came after the slash, and there's 16 of them, so 16 is the denominator. Cats comes after the slash, so that's my denominator. So of the 12 cat people, how many of them are girls? Look at the cat column. Oops, sorry. Look at this cat column right here. How many are girls? It's the same 7 girls. So let me scroll down. Those are the girls in that column who like cats. So I'm going to say 7 out of 12. Notice the 7 didn't change. The 7 was the answer in part A for the numerator. The 7 answer was in part B for the numerator. And that's it. So a conditional, and I'm going to really stress this right here. A conditional relative frequency. You see conditional in front of everything. Whatever comes after your slash, whatever comes after the word given, is your denominator. All right, drive that home. Rewind this part of the video and watch it if you need to. Oh, by the way, 7 out of 12, that's another number right there. That's about 58.3%, 0.583, 0.583. All right, I just want to make sure that I go through all the examples so there are no questions. What about finding associations or correlations between things? Is there any kind of relationship between gender and pet? So it says Jenna conducted the survey because she was interested in the question, does gender influence the type of pet that people prefer? Do girls like dogs more? Boys like cats more? Or vice versa? Or is there no gender preference? If there's no influence, then the distribution of gender within each subgroup of pet preferences should be roughly equal to the distribution of gender within the whole group. So it's well, let's talk about gender within the whole group. What percentage are girls? Just for, I'm gonna go much quicker through this right now. I'm not gonna keep scrolling back and forth. So what percentage are girls? I have my answer right here, and without scrolling up, it's 16 total girls out of 40 people. So 16 out of 40, which is 0.40 or 40%. So 40% of the people are girls. So of the 18 students who prefer dogs, 8 are girls. So it says, find the percentage who are girls given, there's a condition right there, given a preference for pets. So for dogs as pets. So basically I'm finding the probability that a person is a girl given that they like dogs. Okay, so how many dog lovers are there? I guess I will scroll up, I'm sorry. How many dog lovers are there? There are 18 total dog lovers. And of those 18 total dog lovers, 8 of them are girls. So 8 over 18. Sorry, I'm scrolling up and down. So 8 over 18. And that turns out to be 44%. Okay, that's pretty much close. That's very close to the 40% who are girls in general. Okay. Of the 12 students who prefer cats, 7 are girls. Find the percentage who are girls given a preference for cats. So find a percentage who are girls given a preference for cats. Let's scroll back up. How many cat lovers are there? There's 12 total cat lovers, and 7 of them are girls. So 7 out of 12. I'll write that right there. 7 out of 12. And that percentage is 58%. I know I'm skipping over the decimal part. You get it, 0.44, 0.58. Of the 10 students who prefer other pets, 1 is a girl. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. The fractions are right there, 1 out of 10 or 10%. Holy moly, I'm sure you're all yelling at me. 8 out of 18, 7 out of 12, 1 out of 10. Oopsies. All right, so there's 40% 40% of the people surveyed were girls. So let's see here. The percentage of girls among the students who prefer dogs is fairly close to 40%. Yeah, 44 is very close to 40%. So gender does not appear to influence preference for dogs. Girls and the boys surveyed tend to prefer them equal to their proportion who were actually surveyed. But the percentage of girls who prefer cats is much greater than 40%, 50%. What conclusion might you draw? Girls in this survey, at least, are more likely to prefer cats. 58% who preferred cats is much greater than the 40% who were surveyed. Percentage of girls, students who preferred a pet other than a dog or cat is much less than 40%. Okay, so what can you prefer there? Yeah, it's much less than 25. It should have been 40% here. That's a typo. What can you conclude? Girls are less likely to prefer, I'll put in quotes, other pets. All right, everybody. That was a bit of a long lesson, but it was very, very topical and useful. So I hope you got something out of it, and see everybody. Write with any questions you have.